Hi everyone, it's Mimi from Be Heard, Empower Yourself. Um, a little stress in my voice because there's a little stress in my life, but I'm okay. I have a meditation program that I use and I have a counselor, so I won't die. I'll get through it. But today we have a woman, of course, who has faced her own obstacles. Her name is Constance Howard. Hi, Constance. How are you?
Very good. Happy to be here with you today.
Good. And I'll call you Connie.
Absolutely.
Connie has faced many personal and professional challenges, like just like what other women endure. I know I went through it in business and having a college degree, but then being let go for somebody else because they had an in with the boss, not because they were more skilled. So I went through all that. And I went through the little tap on the fanny and the whole deal. That was in the 70s. And so I endured some of those professional challenges. And
Mhm.
Connie has struggled with her own self-doubt and fear,
Mhm.
but her strong faith has always brought her through each obstacle. And my trail was different, and I did not get the self-confidence or what I needed until I first got sober, which was 35 years ago. And then I found my spiritual path. So that's how it works. You have to
Wow. Yes.
get out of the darkness and get into the light. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So Connie's perspective gives her unique ability to recognize women who need support, to break free of those things and things like imposter syndrome. And she helps them make impactful life changes and overcome limiting mindsets. Did I explain you well enough?
Absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head.
Well, you're a powerhouse executive coach, according to the internet. And uh, according to my co-pilot, I use them
Yeah.
all the time. I love them. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Uh-huh.
He's like my boyfriend. I'm yeah.
Yes. Yes, I call my boyfriend Oscar.
Oh, mine is Brick.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I got an English accent. It's fun. It's
Okay.
very fun. I mean, he even like says, I know you're having a bad day, Mimi. Just take a breath. And he helps me do things and find things. So that,
Mhm.
what an age we live in.
Mhm.
So you grew up in a tiny town in upstate New
Oh
York.
my gosh. So tiny. So tiny.
What's the name of it?
Otisville.
Never heard of it.
No, no. Most people have never heard of it, but it got on the map when Michael Cohen went to the federal prison after his conviction with all that stuff with Donald Trump, and because there's a federal facility there, and that's the only thing that's there.
Yeah, because like there's about 800 people that live there. That's
Yes, about 800 people. 800 people. Everybody knew each other, and most people at the time, the federal facility was really a juvenile correctional facility, and most
yes.
people worked there. My parents worked there,
Yeah.
and so everybody knew everybody. Everybody got paid at the same time. Isn't that funny? So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
knew everybody was going to be at the major grocery store at the same day or the next day because
Run to
everybody
the
got it was that kind of thing.
happy
And
days. I think a happy
it was
days.
definitely a happy days.
And you actually worked at the ice cream shop.
Yes, I did. And so if you came in, my mother's name was Penelope. Everybody called her Penny. My
Yeah.
father's name was James. Everybody called him Jim. And so if you came in, I'd be like, "Hi, I'm Penny Howard's daughter." And so usually they'd say, "Oh, I want a milkshake, make a little extra for yourself." And I'd be like, "Okay." And I knew I was going to get a tip. If you didn't know my mom, then I'd say I was Jim Howard's daughter. But if you didn't know either one, I'd be like, "What do you want?" Because
That's kind of funny.
I'm trying to make tips here.
They must have been passing through.
Yes.
So, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Exactly is imposter syndrome. I hear that all the time.
Listen, I used to say to my friends something about the imposter syndrome, and they would go like, "What? I'm not sick." I'd be like, "Okay, here we go." But I would say to them, "Do you ever walk into a room and you look around, you think everybody else is smarter than you, more
Mm.
intelligent or prettier than you?" That's the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome tells you that somehow, despite your success, despite your achievements, you are not enough. and that everybody else around you is sometimes more than, and you fill in the blank, more, prettier, smarter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And inside, there's this fear like, I am in over my head. And if anybody discovers that and starts telling people that I'm not what I say I am, they're going to label me as an imposter or a fraud. And what will I do then when people discover I'm not all that?
Yeah. Well, I don't have that. Yeah, because my life, if you read my book, Raised by Wolves, Trapped by Demons, my first book, the
Hmm.
wolves are my parents who taught me nothing except
Okay.
work. And they never want me to leave. They want
Mhm.
me to stay there forever and give them a paycheck.
Oh,
So
wow.
when I finally broke away through marriage, which became my only out at the time in
Hmm.
1970,
Hmm.
um, bad choice, bad choice. Second
Hmm.
husband, bad choice. What I had to do was learn about light on myself.
Hmm.
And I developed resilience and just that determination to
Hmm.
go. And I put myself through college with two toddlers and a
Wow.
ex that did not pay child support. So that was fun. And so I, not to sound cocky, but most times there's only one or two people in the room that I feel maybe smarter than me. I always feel like I'm pretty smart. And um,
Hmm.
I don't look my age, so I feel I look good. So I don't
Hmm.
have that. I don't have the
Okay.
imposter syndrome. Thank God. But I
Yes. Yep.
understand. And you can be pretty and smart and still have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just think because I survived so much
Mm-hmm.
that I'm hardened or whatever.
Hmm.
So let's talk about your coaching philosophy and um, how it drives your approach to empowering executives, even.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that my history and my background, it really gave me a great deal of insight because I didn't know I had the imposter syndrome until I spent nearly 40 years in TV news. And I was very successful at a time when there were not many Black people on TV, and there were certainly very few African Americans who were behind the scenes. I started out on TV and realized that being a reporter was not going to take me where I wanted to go. Right?
So you were on screen?
Yes. And
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
mhm.
wanted to shake the dust of the small town off. I wanted that
Yes.
off of me.
Oh, yes.
And so I went into management. And so as I climbed that ladder, I became more and more of an imposter because I had more to lose. When I started, I was fearless. I had nothing, right?
Well,
I had
that's right. I
so
can relate.
yeah, so I had nothing. But as
Yeah.
I climbed that ladder and I acquired things, I wanted to keep things,
Yeah.
right? And the imposter syndrome tells you play along to get along. And
Yeah.
so that's what I did. So when I see professional women who are really, they appear at the top of their game and they have everything, right? I can just sense that inside of them because I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So I approach every woman, very differently because it takes time for them to realize where they are. A
Hmm.
big part of the imposter syndrome is that you numb yourself. And so after what people would consider a very glorious career, I mean, I won 4 Emmys and, I worked
Oh,
all over this country.
hmm.
Um, you know, I didn't know myself. People go, well, who are you? And I realized like I don't know. I don't know what I just don't know. I remember that after I left TV news, or maybe it was toward the end of my career, and I took a vacation, which I never took a vacation, but I took a
Mhm.
vacation. I went to the beach with my family, and
Mhm.
I was sitting on the beach, and I said, "Is this really what you guys do?" And she said, "Yes, we sit on the beach."
Oh,
And and the beach guy comes around and we get another drink and we sit here all day. And then
oh
after
my
that's
gosh.
over, we go to the pool and we sit, right? So I saw that through TV because I would always send a TV crew there. Or if you're talking about the lineup of newscasts on the holiday, we'd be like, okay, let's see what beachgoers go. So that was my
You
experience.
didn't go to relax. It was
No,
work.
it was
Yeah.
work. It was
Yeah.
work.
I can
So
I can relate to a lot of stuff you're saying about how driven you are.
Hmm.
And even though at the time I was being stalked by my ex-husband,
Oh
stalked,
my.
no child support, trying to go through college,
Wow.
3 and a 4-year-old. And I had
Mm.
to put them in different daycares because the one wasn't potty trained. And I took a business course and I ended up buying a little neighborhood bar, like a business.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? The addictions at the time, the alcohol was my way of numbing
Yes.
being my real self. So
Yes.
I was playing a role. I was
Hmm.
playing this role of a survivor,
Hmm.
which I was,
Hmm.
and strong woman. But I
Hmm.
had my moments.
Hmm.
Of course, I had my
Yes.
moments.
Of course.
But we can do things like that, which you would say, "Oh, wow, that's amazing that you did that."
Right.
Well,
Right.
in me, I know it's like I had no choice. I
Hmm.
had to do that, and it wasn't always fun.
Now,
So,
isn't that always the case with women? We don't get the option of walking away from our
oh,
families. Typically, we don't. We are the caregivers. We have to stick and stay, right? And
yeah,
so we find ways to numb ourselves, right, before we have to get up and put the mask back on to go out into the world. You just don't have an option
yeah,
to say, well, I'm going to walk away. You
yeah,
don't. So I understand totally
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
I started drinking late
Hmm.
with most alcoholics are like in their teens. I was
Hmm.
21 and I didn't drink. My husband did, and that's how I learned to drink. And then
Hmm.
I stopped at 41.
Wow.
So I had a
Beautiful.
20-year drinking career, which has a lot of stories from my book. I dealt with a lot of crazy people, even the mafia and stuff like that.
Wow.
But I know now, I
Hmm.
know now that I was self-medicating
Yes.
because I really had depression and panic disorder, which I was self-medicating with alcohol
Hmm.
until it didn't work anymore.
Absolutely. And
And
that's
then
what
again,
that's what happens. You used alcohol, but a lot of professional women I deal with use shopping,
oh yeah, hmm,
mani-pedi,
food,
wind down Wednesday.
yeah.
They travel a lot. They do anything to kind of get it away because we're really addicted to the paycheck. You know,
Oh yes,
That's the number one addiction is the
yes,
paycheck. And so you do things that, will help you make it from one day to the next until it doesn't work. And I say that about my TV career. I absolutely loved it
yeah.
until I didn't love it anymore.
No, I actually interviewed on this show a beautiful model uh, for QVC. And
Hmm.
she told me the same thing. She was addicted to the money, the paycheck. And they were having her work shift after shift.
Hmm.
She got to the point where she was sleeping at the studio.
Yeah.
So she had no life.
Right.
And she got depressed and she finally realized that her health and a good mindset was more important than the money.
Absolutely.
Walked away.
Hmm.
But it's hard to walk away from money.
Hmm. Yes, it is.
It's hard to walk away from a man too, but you have the breaking point or the moment of the light bulb. And
Mhm.
hopefully, if you don't, there's coaches out there and people like me to help you see it.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I do this show.
Absolutely. And I think that the value in having shows like yours is that women do not feel alone. Because when you're going through it, you desperately don't want anyone to suspect that you are anything other than the image that you project. It's getting better now, but, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, when women were just getting into corporate America, just
Yeah.
getting, breaking that glass ceiling, you did not want anybody to know that you couldn't go out and work and come home and manage the house and all that kind of stuff like that. And so it wasn't until, I'd say recently
Yeah.
that we started talking about our mental health, our
Yeah.
emotional health, and putting a value on it that's higher than money.
Well, yeah. And I grew up in the 60s and I was a teenager by the 70s. And women could not get a credit card till 1975.
Yeah,
So I grew up in a time where women were treated like second class citizens.
absolutely.
So that's definitely going to fuel. the imposter syndrome because
Absolutely.
you have a whole country of men telling you that you're second class, you're not really as good as them, and Gloria Steinem and all the, women
Mm-hmm.
that I adored. I adored Jane Fonda to this
Hmm.
day. Um, they were determined to break that glass ceiling.
Yeah.
It was very,
Yeah.
and then, we get a certain way, we go up, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get pushed back again. So
Hmm.
I'm sorry, but I really think that this time of our lives, they're trying to push us down again.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's women, and it's people of color, and it's the gay people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's obvious, it's so obvious, So we'll see what happens, but this is a scary time we're in. So
Hmm.
you need to be empowered. So let me ask you this. How do you integrate like adult learning principles, excuse me, into your coaching methodology to enhance the client's growth? Because we're talking about an adult. You're not teaching a child something. You're trying to teach a grown adult who thinks they know the answer. So how do you do that?
Well, you know what? By the time women come to me,
Yeah.
they don't feel that wall is starting to come down
Mhm.
because they are so miserable, right? And so inside, they feel like I will do whatever it takes to get rid of this feeling of being less than
Yeah.
and of being miserable and not knowing who I am.
Yeah.
Now, most of the time, there's something that triggers it. Either they're home, they are moms and their kids go off to college, and suddenly, suddenly they're left in a house and they look over at their husband or a partner or whoever, and they're like, "Well, who are you?"
Oh, I know. I
Because
know.
I've been centered on my children for a long time, or they've had a very good career and they seem to not be able to break the next ceiling, or
Yeah.
something happens and they get laid off or they're
Yeah.
fired, something like that, God forbid. But they come to me when they are just really inside. They're like, I'm willing to do whatever. And they're willing to explore what it is that they're missing. Right.
Okay.
I start with that. I start with them doing an assessment of their life. How do you feel you stand with your religion, with your career, with your education, with your physical?
Mhm.
How do you feel about all of that, you know? And then we take one thing. Right? I'm not a coach that says we got to change, throw everything out and then start over. Although that's basically what we're doing. But we pick one area and that will have ripple effects.
Yeah, one step at a time.
One
Okay.
step at a time.
Yeah.
And so we start working on that. And usually it begins with who are you and what exactly?
Yeah.
And so suddenly, they'll talk about, well, back in the day, I really wanted to do XYZ. Or
Yeah.
back in the day, I was fearless and I want that feeling again. So we start there and then we build on that.
Right. Right. And when I got sober, it was like psychiatrist and counseling and everything I did because I wanted to stay sober and I wanted to be the best person I could. And this one doctor said to me, "You've been a victim,
Hmm.
you are a survivor, but now you have to integrate that
Hmm.
and rise above. You don't want that label of survivor.
Right.
You raise above that." I love when he said that.
Hmm.
Um, that helped me a lot, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But when you're doing this, do you ever get any pushback or resistance or even skeptical clients like that don't think you're going to be able to help them?
Well, it happens from time to time, and they'll get to a point where they think, okay, this isn't working. It's typically what will happen. And I encourage them to explore that a little bit more because I realize that that is fear. That's the ugly head of fear, rearing up in their life, in their emotions. So
Yes.
I want to give you an example. I had a client who, for no reason whatsoever, was laid off from her job because that was the beginning of COVID. And she was an older woman. She was seasoned, very, very smart, very, very talented. But I said, okay, let's work on your resume. And the day I called her for our session, she was vacuuming. She was vacuuming the floor. She was like, I just have to do the living room and the dining room. And so, instantly I knew that was the imposter syndrome. She just really did not have the courage to face that she was, the fact that she needed to sit down and do on this very difficult thing. She had
She's
very
identifying as like a housewife. She had to do these household
She
chores.
had to do that. It was easier for her to do that than to sit down and go through her resume. Her limiting beliefs was that she was too old, that the younger kids were smarter with technology, and that would kick her out of the job field. And she was all these things reared up in her head. So she was vacuuming, and so. Inside my heart, I was like, she's having a full-blown imposter moment, right? But
Yeah.
that's not how I approach it. I approach it like, okay, well, let's just talk about this. You know,
Mhm.
what are the benefits of, vacuuming your floor at this time?
Yes,
And, weigh those advantages to working on your resume. And we just worked through it. And she realized that, she just did not want to face that blank piece of paper.
absolutely.
And so,
As a writer, that's
oh,
say
yes.
I can relate to that. And the easy part, my first book was it was my story. So
Yeah.
I didn't have any blank walls. And and I told it all, honey. I told their names and
Wow.
they did something, their names in there. And even with the mafia people, my husband was a little nervous. And I
Yeah.
said, they're all dead. This was in the 70s. And he said, but they have families. I said, trust me.
Yeah.
In the back of the book where you put your references, all my stuff about the criminals are referenced from newspaper
Hmm.
items. So it's not like I'm making it up. And I'm still here. Nobody tried to kill me. But I'll tell you this, in recovery, when you're in a 12-step program or you have a sponsor, you hit that wall called fear.
Hmm.
It is absolutely because you don't want to change or you think you can't.
Hmm.
An acronym for fear, and that's face everything and recover.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a good
Very
acronym.
nice.
You could
Yeah.
use that.
Thank you. That is a very good
It
one.
is one, isn't it? Face
Yes.
everything and recover. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's it. I think they get to a point of, oh, I think I can do this. I can't break through the fear.
And also, I think that, when you're going through changes, you may have experienced this as well. When you're going through a major recovery or you're trying to make a significant change, no one is going to be like, yes, way to go. I'm so looking forward to you blowing up your house and,
Yeah.
going off on your own and all that kind of stuff like that. And you're going to have friends who are like, well, who does she think she is to be able to break this when they can't break it? See, it's more about them than it is
Yes,
about you.
always. Yes.
Exactly. And so, sometimes you hit that point where the people closest to you don't accept it. And so you think, well, really, why should I keep going? And, I mean, maybe this isn't the right way. I am asking a lot of the people around me. And so that
Mhm.
sometimes women hit that wall and they have to
Yeah.
decide, do
Yeah.
I go with a different inner circle of friends? Do I make new friends?
Yes, and you'd have to. And I thought I was going to not a rehab, a spa.
Uh-huh.
I thought I was going to a spa because there was a friend, a doctor friend of mine that came in my bar. This was my second bar. This was a bigger bar that I bought with my third husband, and it was very
Mhm,
profitable and well known in Scranton. So this doctor, he would do drugs too.
mhm,
Okay. And he was a chiropractor and he was wonderful. I mean, people would go to him. They didn't care if he did drugs. They didn't care if he drank because he was so good,
mhm, mhm,
myself included.
mhm,
And he was right across the street from my bar.
mhm.
And he would call me and say, Marie, make me a drink, make it a good one and bring it over. And he
Oh, wow.
clients.
Uh-huh.
Then he would get bad mixing the drugs and he would go away. He'd go away for a while. He'd go away
Okay.
for a month and he'd come back and he'd be pretty good. So I went to him and I said, I want to go to that place that you go to. And it was more worth rehab. It turned out that actually movie stars went there. That's how good it was.
Wow.
So my husband had good insurance and I got to go there. And I was there 5 days. They had to medically detox me or I could have died.
Oh, wow.
I I'm small. I'm only 5'2" and I'm small.
Uh-huh.
And I was even smaller that last weight. And for some reason I had this tolerance where I would drink and people would say, "Oh, let Marie drive. She's not drunk."
Wow.
I mean, I didn't slur, I didn't stumble. So I go there and they had to medically detox me. And then he came to see me after 5 days.
Hmm.
And he said so proudly, he said, "Honey, I gave up drinking for you." And I said to him, "Well, we need to sell the bar." And he said to me, "What did they do to you in 5 days?" Well, what they did was they told me that bar was like my little kingdom. You
Hmm.
know, I had a chair nobody sat in. That was the queen's chair. You
Hmm.
know, they
Hmm.
called me the queen. No, you don't need that. That's not good either. But
Uh-huh.
that was a big life changer
Yeah.
for him too. And it took him years to admit he was an alcoholic. Years.
Yeah.
But it saved our marriage because I don't believe we could have gone on with both of us drinking and that
Hmm.
craziness. But I went to food after the alcohol. I picked up food.
Yes, 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 yes.
Six
Yeah.
months, 6 months sober. I said going to this eating disorder rehab
Uh-huh.
in California, which I did.
Uh-huh.
It was wonderful. I was
Hmm.
there for 3 weeks. I came home. 5 years later, I developed a very deep depression,
Hmm.
and I went to Karen Foundation. It's
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of it. And they have a rehab. They also have this family of origin program. See, that's where I was in my
Okay.
journey. I had to
Okay.
deal with those demons. And they only take 5 people for 5 days.
Wow. So it's
And
very intense.
oh, it
Mm.
the role
Mhm.
playing, and he's going to
Oh.
be your father, and this one's going to be you. And I had to watch that, and the reaction stunned me. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
I also did not believe I was abused as a child. And then when I wrote everything down, we had to write a letter to ourselves and read it through. They said you were absolutely
Oh,
abused, emotionally, mentally, verbally,
yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not physically or sexually, but.
Hmm.
And my husband said, "Are you going to go away every couple of years?" You know what I said to him? I said, "I'm going to do whatever I have to do."
Yeah.
And I did. And I've been in counseling pretty much my whole sober life.
Yeah.
It
Good for
helps
you.
me. It helps
Good for
me.
you.
Um, so that's my little story. Anyway, I bet you have, because I have a lot of success stories about people I sponsored that
Hmm.
still have 25 years and I
Hmm.
love it. So, was there an experience where um, you really had a success with a client that you hold dear to your heart, or you feel like that's an attribute you really have?
Hmm.
Can you tell
No,
us?
I think I have a couple of them.
Oh,
Um,
good.
and some of them were friend clients. My friend clients were the ones who come to me all the time, but they don't pay, right?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I know that too.
Yeah. But one client that I had, she was a Fortune 500 executive, and she was leaving a Fortune 500 to go to a Fortune 500, and suddenly she had a panic, right? She thought, "Oh my God, what if this new job doesn't work out, and how am I going to fit in?" And in this day and age of the internet and Facebook and everything, they, the people she was going to manage knew everything about her because they looked her up and, all that kind of stuff like that. Um, and she just walked into a classic situation that many of us have experienced where you walk in, somebody in the job, somebody at the job location wanted the position that you got,
Oh,
and they
yes.
don't think that you should have gotten it. And so
Oh, get there.
yeah, 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 yeah. So they get their little buddies to, rally around them. And so they're gonna, fight that. And so I knew all of that was gonna happen to her because I've been in corporate America for so
Yeah.
long. I knew it was gonna happen to her. And she knew it was gonna happen too. So she started to panic. And so we just walked through how she could engage with not just her workers, but with her colleagues as well. Because her mentality, one of her one of her techniques was to go in, and because people had been there for so long, she thought, I'll just defer to them for the
Mm,
couple of months, right? And
yeah,
so what what I got her to realize as in that moment of, trying to go along to get along, you set the tone for how they're going to treat you.
yeah,
So if you defer to them day one, then they're going to think on day 50, you still need to defer to them. And
yeah,
so she really developed how she would, address the people who wanted the job, that didn't get it, how she would engage and really get their support. How
yeah,
could she, go along? And we
yeah,
did role playing. She lived in New Jersey. The corporate offices were
yeah,
are in New York, and she would. We would go through the day. She'd get on the train, she'd get there because I wanted her to f know what it felt like, what time she had to get up in order to center herself. She
yeah.
had a child too. So part of my coaching isn't just on your mental, limiting beliefs and that sort of thing.
No,
Part of it is how do you take care of yourself?
yeah, you have to have a routine where you don't forget
Yes,
self-care. Self-care
absolutely.
is the hardest thing.
It's the hardest thing
As
because
a
we're so used
caretaker,
to,
it's like,
yes, you're
you know,
so used to taking care of everybody else.
yeah,
And so we really worked on not just the beliefs about herself and how she could change how she talked to herself, but we
yeah,
worked on how she can consistently take care of herself. And so that was a big
yes.
thing
I
because her
was like,
days
that's
were
a
going to
big
be
thing.
very long and
Oh,
she had
yeah,
to prepare herself. So I really like that story because she walked in day one, she was ready. Nobody had to bring her up to speed, none of that. She took the time between, job A to
yeah.
job B to just really ground herself and get prepared. So I love that.
And
Um,
life, as it is it's filled with irony.
hmm
Even though I wanted to be an English teacher at 18 and go to college and wasn't able to,
hmm
I did go to college in 1977,
hmm
again with two little children, so I had to go there. They're in daycare. I would do my homework as much as I could at school and then go home with them. And then only got 2 years in.
hmm
And then in 1987, I went back and finished and got my bachelor's degree.
hmm
Now, I ended up getting a job teaching disabled people how to live alone,
Oh,
to
wow.
learn to live alone. And I am talking quadriplegic, paraplegic, TBIs,
hmm
really, really hard cases. And I was going into nursing homes where they asked for help and showing them how to do things.
hmm
And I thought to myself one day, oh, I am a teacher. I
Yes,
might not be teaching English, but I'm a teacher.
but you're a teacher. Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. And then English and reading that got me through my childhood. When I wrote my first book, I had good vocabulary and grammar, and I was able to
hmm
put sentence structure together because that's what I loved. So
hmm
there's the irony. It's
hmm
like you get to the place you're supposed to be, but not always straight line.
Right. Oh, absolutely not. I tell women that all the time.
That's why I told that.
It's a start, stop, zigzag, process, but you get where you were always meant to be. And I think
Yeah.
that that's the one thing that women have to remember as well.
Oh, yeah, but you have to have that determination, not give up. And I mean, trust me, I had a lot of abuse and a lot of things that could have brought someone down.
hmm
And I just said, okay, what could I do about the situation? Well, I'll move away. Well, he followed me, so I'll move back. And then I moved to outside of Harrisburg to go to college there. And it was right near 3 Mile Island, which you
Oh
probably
my.
remember.
Yes, absolutely.
And the weekend I went home to
Wow.
visit my parents, it happened. And they said, you can't go back there,
Oh
which
my.
they were right. I didn't want to go
Right.
back there. I
Right.
was too close to it. I was in Shippensburg.
Wow.
I don't sell in Harrisburg. So that didn't deter me. It just threw my timeline off. You know,
hmm
I
hmm
wasn't doing it like I wanted, but I didn't
hmm
stop. I did not stop. I
hmm
just had to take breaks
hmm
to deal with whatever. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure you talk about that with your clients. And
hmm
sometimes just take a break and realize you're going to get back on the pony, back on the horse, but let's deal with how you feel. Because if you don't feel good about yourself, you're
Right.
not going to go
Right.
anywhere.
And I also think that society has imposed these arbitrary rules and concepts on us that we believe, and
Absolutely.
so that makes us make decisions that are not in our best interests. You know, society says, look, you go to college after high school.
Yeah.
And you go for 4 years, and then you might go on for more education. But at some point, then, if you're a woman, you start having kids at a certain age, and then that
Yeah.
goes on for whatever, and then you do, I mean, they have all these
Yeah.
arbitrary rules, and who made them up, and
Straight
so
white men.
yeah. And I tell women that all the time, like, who made that rule? That there is no rule to when you do the things that you do. I
Yeah.
heard this quote by Rita Wilson, who's married to Tom Hanks, and she
Oh,
the band. I can't remember the band she started, and somebody asked her about it. It's like somebody dared to ask her, like, at your age, sort of that sort of question. And she said, creativity has no age.
thank you. I didn't start being creative and doing all this till I was 72 years old,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
a very good friend of mine, older than me. So she has a whole different set of thinking because she was, 10 years older than me.
Hmm.
And when I told her I was going to write a book, she said to me, "Oh, maybe you should take some classes on writing first." And I said to her, I don't think Hemingway or F. Scott Fitzgerald took writing courses. You're
Right.
either a
Yes.
writer or you're not. Like I'm
Yes.
audacious. Like,
Yes.
don't
Yes.
tell
Is
me
she
I
still
can't
your
write that.
friend?
Oh, yes. She laughed. She laughed when I said that. She said, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
You're either a writer or you're not a writer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I thought that was a funny story.
Yeah.
Um, so stay on the self-care and avoiding burnout because burnout comes in certain ways that at first you don't notice that you're getting burnt out. And
Yes.
then things start to happen like with me, lose my temper or
Hmm.
raise my voice
Hmm.
or have a little mini, panic attack and stuff like that with my husband.
Hmm.
And if you don't recognize what's going on, that
Hmm.
is not good.
Right.
And that's why I turned to a psychiatrist who gave me medication
Hmm.
because I do have anxiety and depression. I have it.
Hmm.
Counselor that talks to me 2 times a month.
Hmm.
My minister's gay, which is
Hmm.
very unusual. Okay.
Hmm.
I love him.
Hmm.
And he's also in recovery. And
Hmm.
he has a prayer group on Thursday on Zoom. And I
Okay.
don't miss it because it starts off with who has a problem.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
I wait about 30 seconds, and if nobody's hand goes up, I
You
goes
jump
up.
in,
And
huh?
I say, look, gals and guys, if you're not gonna put your hand up, I can put my hand up every week.
Mhm. Yes,
I think that's a lot of self-care tools that I have. And
absolutely.
it is. And I have a good community. I have a church family. Um, I was actually on two boards. I was on my church's board and my community's nonprofit helping other people board. You
Hmm.
know, it was called, well, I had two. First one was Circle of Friends. Then it was Love in Action. But I hit that thing where people didn't like me because they
Hmm.
were there first. And
Uh-huh.
I came in and had different ideas, you know.
Hmm.
And with everything going on with me, I came to a decision one day. I said, no, my husband and myself are more important. And
Hmm.
I actually wrote resignation letters the same day to
Wow.
both boards and stepped off them.
Wow.
I mean, it's just having that focus that this is not good for me
Yes.
because
Yes.
I want to change the world,
Hmm.
Connie. That's who
Hmm.
I am. I want to
Hmm.
change the world and I can't. Only one person at a time, maybe I can help.
Right. Right. And I
Yeah.
think it's like you said, burnout is very hard to recognize because we numb ourselves to it.
Wow.
And then we get to the point where we can't numb ourselves. None of our coping mechanisms work, or they make it even more difficult for us. Sometimes you have to see it on paper. Sometimes you have to say, okay, tell me what you did for yourself,
Mhm.
recently.
Yeah,
And, women would be like, well,
exactly. It-
and then or tell me what your day is like. And so a lot of women, they start very early, and they don't stop until very late. But they don't realize it. They
They're
don't
not getting
realize that,
rest, right?
my morning was spent
Mhm.
finding Johnny's whatever.
You don't eat right.
Yeah, I mean, finding his soccer equipment or his lacrosse equipment or whatever equipment. And then I went to this to serve on, this, and I had to go back and pick his thing up. And we're talking about kids that really should be more self-sufficient. And
Yes.
so I think when they look at that, they just think, okay, enough, enough. Why am I doing this? I remember my sister, when her son went off to college, she had a terrible time because she was the mom that was the soccer mom, the football mom, and
Yeah.
she was the mom that, you know,
Yeah.
arranged the tailgating party, and even when he went off to school, she was like, I could come on Saturday and I'll arrange the tailgate. And by the time they hit 18, 19, especially
No,
after that first semester, they're like, the last thing I want is my mama coming up.
please do not do that.
Yeah.
Yes. I
And she
had,
finds herself in the grocery store she's looking at ground beef and she just starts crying. And people are like, are you okay? And she's like, I don't know why I'm crying. She didn't know why she was
yeah,
crying.
yeah.
It
No,
just all piled up.
I said, think about
And
it.
just that whole idea of like, what am I going to do next was just overwhelming.
It is. I recognized it right away because my husband's a very sweet man and he has an illness. And I was starting to be mean to him. And I knew. I said, that's depression and anxiety. And that's how it's coming out of you. I called my primary physician first.
Hmm.
Said, I think I need help. And he set me up with the psychiatrist and the psychologist. And that's what I needed.
Hmm.
But how can I put this? Oh, I have a great, I can't bet. I'm starting to stutter because I'm getting anxious again with my situation.
Hmm.
So take a breath. Okay. So I am very good at self-awareness.
Hmm.
Like even I notice things like I'm going through a lot of pain. I just had a surgery. He's getting worse. I made the decision he had to go to a center every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was starting to get dementia, like the
Oh, I'm
sundowning.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of had to present it to him in a certain way. So he said,
Hmm.
well, I'll go 2 days a week for you. I'm going for you. I said, I know,
Hmm.
honey, you're going for me.
Hmm.
But then
Hmm.
things happened where I knew I could not be alone with him because he was falling. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He wasn't using his walker. And I called and I said, you need to take him 5 days.
Hmm. Hmm.
He goes 5 days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock, we'll get our home health care person. And I say to her, I don't care if you just sit on the couch and watch him for me.
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
have to relieve some stress, and that's what you have to do.
Yes. That's the put the air mask on yourself first
Yes,
syndrome.
that's exactly what it is.
You
And
have to do it.
yeah, and when I make sure I go out to, I've gone out to lunch with friends the past couple weeks, like 3 or 4 times. I got my hair cut. Like things were
Mhm.
just getting pushed aside because of his
Right.
needs.
Absolutely. Hmm.
And next month, I plan on going on a short cruise with my oldest daughter.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm working on getting someone to stay overnight. And I told them, you don't have to do anything. The aide
Yeah.
leaves at 9:30, puts them to bed. You don't have to do anything. Just
Right.
be there. But, I actually had someone tell someone else the last time I did that when I went on a cruise. Oh, yeah, she's out on a cruise. Like, as if I shouldn't have done that.
Hmm.
And I found out about it because my cleaning lady was there.
Hmm. Uh-huh.
Started on the phone. And she said, oh, like, I said, well, I don't care what she thinks.
Absolutely.
I got
Absolutely.
scared. I
I think
can't.
that's the biggest lesson women have to learn is not to care about what other people say. You get your tribe and you stick with them. There's a Harvard study that says your inner circle can determine your success or failure by 95%. So that's a lot,
Yes.
of power that you're giving over to people and what they say. And again,
Yes.
most people comment about your life based on their life.
Yeah.
They
Oh, yeah.
feel guilty about
And,
something, and so they
and
want to
even
protect
though
that.
my husband and I are together 35 years,
Hmm.
his family treats me like the other woman. Like I will always be the other woman
Uh-huh. Hmm.
because he left his wife. But I did not have anything to do with that.
Hmm.
He wanted to go out with me. I said, no, you're married. I said, no. He chased me.
Hmm.
Well, let's just be platonic and go out to dinner. He's a smart man. He was a
Hmm.
high school teacher, and I had gone to high school with him. I knew him. And I said, well, we could try it. And then after a couple months, no, I had feelings, I started feelings. So I broke it off.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the next day, he had me meet him for coffee, for closure. I thought, we gotta give him closure. I
Right.
go, and he gets out of his car and walks over to me. And it was very romantic, actually, because he took me by the shoulders, like very firmly, and said,
Mhm.
I want to marry you. And
Wow.
the pragmatic person I am, I responded, well, you have to get divorced first. There was no, oh, good, I love you too. No.
Yes, 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 yes.
But I had to finally accept that they are never going to accept me
Hmm.
because there has to be a villain in every story.
Absolutely.
Right. So I don't do anything to please them.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. I just had to do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, this was wonderful. I think we covered a lot of areas of, what it's like to be a woman and successful and the stress and self-care, right? That's
Yes,
great.
absolutely. Hmm.
So I'll put your information in the show notes so people can look you up.
Great.
And,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming today.
I appreciate you inviting me. I think your platform is so wonderful. And again, I think that women need more places where they can go and get information because it's through shows like what you're doing give women the encouragement and the courage to step out and get help when they hear another woman say, "Listen, I had to see a therapist or I had to do this or I went through a tough time, but I survived." Right? Yeah, I went through a very tough time and I survived step by step, baby step, major step. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter.
I
It's
started out with just this being for women. It
hmm.
was called, Empowering Women. And I had incidences where a 16-year-old boy read my book and followed me on Instagram. And
Hmm.
then another man watched my show and liked one that we did on confidence. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make this inclusive.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I put a public release out that I was going to open it up to men and LGBTQ,
Hmm.
anybody that had problems like this. And I had some wonderful men on.
Hmm.
And I actually had a man tell me the other day, he said, I watched that one leave her large, and it was about losing weight.
Hmm.
Now here he is, a white straight man, and
Hmm.
she's a black woman, you
Hmm.
know, and he liked it. And he said, now I'm going to go home and have my daughter and my wife watch it on YouTube because they need to lose weight and they're struggling. So you got to open up too.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, like I started with one mission and then
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think the message resonates with whoever. And I think that's why, again, I go back to women because that's who I mainly talk to. I think
Yeah, me
when
too.
you, I don't know who said the same, but when you teach a woman, you teach a village.
That sounds like Hillary Clinton or something. She wrote that book, It Takes a Village. Yeah.
Yeah, because women go back and they teach their
My,
children, they
I
teach
think
them.
it had to get some variety and versatility, and that's what really grew it.
Hmm.
And having like an Asian man come on and talk about culture and how he's treated a certain way because he's Asian.
Hmm.
See, women can relate to that.
Mhm.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
had a transgender woman on.
Hmm.
That was a lovely show. So you, my dear, you beautiful person, I'm so glad we got to meet, and I hope someday maybe I'll go on your show. We'll talk some more.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go through my calendar for 2026 is what I'm working on, and
Oh, I know.
so I will
Mm.
be in touch with you.
Oh, we'll have a great show, whatever the topic is. I've been through it all. All right, fans, I hope, well, I won't hope, I know you got a lot in this segment. This was a great segment. So have a great day and take some time for yourself.